It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Walking Dead: The Ones Who Live. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at Gabriel's return in the 5th episode, and we're going to be breaking down the timeline of his return. Now, of course, there's two different discussions as far as Gabriel's return. There's a discussion of the potential timeline of the intro, which I did a separate video on, but in this one, I'm particularly going to talk about the timeline or potential timeline of Gabriel's return in the scenes where we saw him with Jadis. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break this down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So of course, with Gabe's return and his talk with Jadis, we learned a few things about what was going on back home. That gives us an idea of where this was in the timeline. Now, of course, with what they did with the 3 years, 2 years, 1 year thing, throws everything off. So don't even look at that, because I'm pretty sure that they messed up with that whole thing. As far as what is 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 1 year ago, when Michonne left, when everything happened, so it's all screwed up. So we're not going to look at it from a year per year perspective. So we're going to look at it from a high level, where it is in the timeline. Of course, one of the key things that Gabe said, which is an important factor, is that the group that they were in conflict with compromised their wall, and that food is scarce. This matches 100% to the events after the Whispers War. Because after the Whispers War, their wall was compromised, and at that point, food was scarce. And they were really struggling before they found Commonwealth and all of that. So as far as where this is in the timeline, it is definitely right after the Whispers War, when the walls were compromised and they had to deal with the aftermath of the war with the Whispers. Another thing that Gabe did mention is that Michonne has gone away to find supplies. And I think that lines up with when Michonne left and found her way where Virgil was, which of course ended up with her finding Rick's boots and all of that, and going on the mission to find Rick in the first place. And I think the flashbacks when we saw Gabriel was probably around the same time. Of course, not all of them, because they were years apart, but specifically the first one was around the time when him and Aaron went on that run in one of the bonus episodes of season 10 part 3, where we actually saw Aaron and Gabe run into a survivor, and there was that whole thing going on with him. Of course, that survivor was played by Robert Patrick. I think timeline-wise, this lines up with when Gabe saw Jadis for the first time after the bridge. Now let's back up a little bit. What was the point of bringing Gabe back? I think bringing Gabe back had two main purposes. One was actually filling in the gaps of one of the biggest plot holes in The Walking Dead. And that is the whole story with Jadis and Gabe right before Jadis disappeared. Of course, Gabe saw the CRM helicopter and found out that Jadis was doing trading with this group and she was communicating with this group. But Gabe never talked about this to anyone. And this was one of the biggest plot holes in The Walking Dead. By bringing Gabe back and explaining that Gabe is keeping this secret because Jadis asked them to, is filling in that gap. Now, of course, it doesn't fully explain it, or not explain, but it doesn't fully justify it and remove that plot hole, but it's better than it was before. But the other purpose why they brought Gabe back is for the simple reason of having Gabe give the ring to Jadis, and for Jadis to give that ring to Rick right before she dies, and then for Rick to then propose to Michonne with that ring. That was the other purpose why they did that. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's a little convenient. That's a little bit of a fan service type of thing, and it does feel a little forced, but it is what it is. That's what they did. And I think this was probably one of the biggest reasons why they brought Gabe back. I mean, the fact of explaining the plot hole is good, but that wasn't the big purpose. That wasn't the main reason. The main reason was the ring. But of course, like I said, the intro of Gabe's appearance is not fully explained as far as where it sits in the timeline. There are some speculations about it, but no one knows for sure. We will definitely have a better idea in this next episode, because if there's anything to explain, Gabe is probably going to come back and we're going to see them explain where this was in the timeline. I did a separate video talking more about what this potentially was and whether this is in fact in the current timeline or not. So if you're interested in that, go check out my other video about this. But the final thing I do want to mention is the last time Gabe saw Jadis was probably still before the group met with Commonwealth. But when they did the 1 year jump, with Gabe coming back and not seeing Jadis again because she was dead, will probably line up with the time when Eugene, Ezekiel, Yumiko, and Princess were first discovered by the Commonwealth at the train station. Or around that time. I mean, maybe it was when they first got to Commonwealth or something, but around that time. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to go through in this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.